This is the beginning of the long-awaited powerful Android apps with Jetpack architecture course. So in this video in particular, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the, I'm going to give you an application demo and demo it working, demo login, registration, basically all the features, posting a blog, all that kind of stuff. Just show you exactly what the app is going to do. And then next we are going to talk about the specific things that you'll be learning in the app. So that'd be, things like Kotlin, recycler views, coroutines. I'm going to list the things that you're going to be learning so that you know what to expect from the course. I know a lot of you have been waiting a long time for this. I've been talking about it for, it's got to be at least a month and a half, 2 months, but it's because it took a long time to build. I had to build the blog that we're going to be interacting with. I had to build the REST API for the blog that we're interacting with, and then we had to build the app to actually communicate with that REST API. So there's a lot of work that goes into a project like this, and I wanted to make sure I showed you the whole package so that you guys can go and you can either go and get freelance projects, or this is a very standard thing that they do in interviews these days. If you're going to get a job, they give you access to some kind of a REST API and they tell you to build an app based on certain criteria to interact with it. So overall, it's a really good project. It's very practical and you'll get a lot of really useful skills out of it. So now let's take a look at an application demo. So on the screen here, I have the app and I also have the Open API website on the left-hand side. So I'm not logged in and I'm also not logged in on the app. So for those of you who are new to this project, what this app does is it interacts with this website that I put up through its REST API. So literally, if I was to log in on the website, I'll just log in with mitchelltabian@gmail.com and type my password, which you will be seeing throughout the course. I'm going to be using this login as a dummy login so that you can see I'm logged in. I can access the website, do whatever. I can make blog posts, whatever. So I could do that same thing from the application. So let's go to the application. I'm going to click login this time. Actually, maybe I'll demo registration first. So let's go to register, and I'm actually going to register just a random account. I'll do like testmitch@tabian.ca, testmitch, just a password, and then try logging in or try registering. So click register, you get that progress bar, and it says right away, as soon as I'm entering the application, it says you must be a member on codingwithmitch.com to access the API. And it says visit the enroll page. So this is one of the restrictions that I've put on the app so that people who aren't members can't actually post to it. And I did this because I don't want, random people just checking out the project from version control, creating an account and then bloating the website with random blog posts. So I added a restriction on the back end that unless you are a member, a paid member on codingwithmitch.com, you won't be able to you can register, but you won't be able to post anything, basically. So when you register, when you're going through the project, make sure you register with the same email that you have on codingwithmitch.com, because otherwise you will not be able to interact with the API properly. And you'll see an error message like the one that I'm seeing here. So if you register with an account that has access, you won't see this error dialog. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to log out of this account and I'm going to log in to an account that actually has access. So I'm going to the account selection down here and I'm going to click log out. That's going to log me out from the app. So now if I was to close it, reopen it, I would see the login screen again. It would no longer auto log me in, which is something that I'm going to talk about next. So what is this auto login thing that I just mentioned? Well, if you log in with a user that actually has access, so this would be someone who has a Coding with Mitch member account. So mitchelltabian@gmail.com, I do have a member account. My password is codingwithmitch1. I'm going to log in. Now that logs me into the app, and notice right away it starts pulling the blog posts from the website. And I don't see that dialog that tells me that I don't have access. So these blog posts are being pulled directly from the website. If I was to scroll down, actually, you know what I'll do? They're actually filtered in reverse order. So I can actually just change the filter. I can go up here, go to descending order, click apply. That will then filter them on the same order that you're seeing on the website. So if I scroll up to the top, I should see the same order. Yeah, so what's happening here is it's filtering by date, not date and time. So you're seeing these three, September 16th, September 16th, September 16th. The next one down here is September 10th. So September 16th, September 16th, September 16th. And then the next one here, which would be September 10th, September 10th. September, and then it goes September 30th. So it is in the same order. It's just that on the website, it's filtering it taking into account the time, but on the app it does not take into account the time, it only takes into account the date. But the point of it is here that you're seeing the blog posts from the website. So now before I talk about the blog posts and how all that works and kind of all these other selections down here, I want to talk about the thing that I just mentioned, which was auto logging in. So if you take a look at an app like Instagram, for example, which I'll actually pull it up. So here I have Instagram running on my real phone right here. You can see the people that I follow: Coding and Flow, Don Felker, Sri Yank, all great content creators. So this is my Instagram, my Coding with Mitch Instagram. Now what I want to show you is I want to illustrate how Instagram will auto log you in no matter what. So I don't have to enter my credentials every time I open the app. So just if I was to, close the application and then reopen it, then I'm automatically logged in. I don't have to enter my credentials. And the only way to prevent that from happening is if I go to to my profile and I actually sign out manually from the app. So I think you go to settings and you actually have to log out. So the only way to prevent me from getting auto logged in is to click this logout button right here. So this is the same behavior that we want in our application. So if I was to close the app, which I'll do it, I'll close it. Let's just go clear all. And then I was to reopen the application. So I'm going to click on Open API. Notice that it automatically logs me back in. I didn't have to enter the credentials again. And now the only way to get it so that I would have to enter my credentials is to go to the account screen and click on Logout. Now, if I was to close the app and reopen it, it will take me to the login screen again. So that's what I mean by auto login. And I think this is important if you're building an application that doesn't deal with sensitive data. So basically, if you're building an app that doesn't deal with money or banking, you should have this behavior. Twitter does it, Facebook does it, Instagram does it, WhatsApp does it, all apps do it. You want them to be automatically logged in unless they log out in the session prior. So now let's talk about what it means to be authenticated. So when I actually go to log in and I enter an email, so mitchelltabian@gmail.com, my password codingwithmitch1. So if I actually log in with this, what does that mean? Like, how does the application determine who is authenticated and who isn't, like specifically? So the way that this works is we are using token authentication on our Django REST framework. For those of you who built the REST API, which was the course I did prior to this one to prepare for this one, you know what that is. It's a token that's stored on the server. Every user has a unique token, and the way I interact with the REST API is by attaching that token to the header. So what I can do is I can actually open up Postman and I can do a demonstration. So I have Postman on the screen here. I'm just going to shrink it down, and I have a query. So it's a GET request, openapi.xyz, API blog list. So this is the actual request that's being made on the app right here to retrieve this list of blog entries. So the way that Django restricts access to these specific requests is through a token attached in the header. So you can see that the key is authorization and the value is token, and then this unique authentication token. And every user, every valid member has a different token. So they know on the back end of the server, it knows who's making the request and if they are allowed access or not just through that token. So if I click send, this should be a valid token, and then you can see that I receive all this list of blog posts. And that's what's happening in the application here. This is getting a list of blog posts, which is shown in this data right here and then displayed in the list. If I use a token that's invalid, so I'll just change it. It could be just different one of these letters. Doesn't matter what it is. I'll just change this token just very slightly, and that would make it invalid because it's not attached to a user who has access. So if I click send, it gives me an invalid token error. And that's what happened when I logged in with that test user at the beginning of this video. I logged in and on the back end, it looked at the token and it said, okay, this user does not have a member account in Coding with Mitch. I better show the error. So that's how authentication works. So when I actually log into the app, what it does is it queries the token and then saves that token in a session manager class. And that session manager class exists throughout the whole application. So as soon as I remove that token, basically it logs them out. And that's what happens when you go to account and you click on log out. What's happening is it's removing the token from that session manager, and then we have observers that are looking at it that will automatically log out the user. So in general, that's how authentication is handled. I think by now you should get the picture. If you don't, too bad, you're gonna have to watch the course and look into it a little more. So the last kind of option here on the login screen is forgot password. And this actually uses a web view through the website. So if I click on this, it launches, it goes to another fragment, but it launches a web view that actually, this is the website itself. So like if I was to go to log out, go to login and click reset password, this is the exact same screen that you're seeing on the app. It's literally the website. So I wanted to show you how you could interact with a website using a web view and some JavaScript in the course. So I thought it would be cool to actually have a real web page using a web view there. So it's pretty straightforward, so I don't think you should have any problems with that. Now let's log into the app and let's actually explore the rest of the features. So going up to login once again, this will be mitchelltabian@gmail.com. My password, login. That'll take me into the application, and let's take a look and see what's happening here. So now if I click on one of these list entries, I can just click on any one of them. It will take me to another fragment, and it gives me that nice little sideways transition animation. So if I click on it, it gives me a nice sideways transition to a new fragment. And as you guys know, I'm going to be using navigation components throughout the course. So the bottom navigation view is all fragments using the new Jetpack navigation components, just as kind of a heads up if you didn't know that. So now in this screen, it shows the title, it shows the image, it shows the author of the blog post, the date, and then the content of that blog post. So if I can go back, I can click on a different one. Again, that data is then changed. The next thing is, if you are the author of this blog post, you will be able to edit it. So right now, on the user that I currently am logged in with, which is mitchelltabian@gmail.com, this user does not have any blog posts. I've never created a blog post with this user. So if I did though, there'd be a little edit button up in the toolbar. So let's actually create a blog post with this user so that I can show that to you. So I'm gonna go to the create section here, enter a blog title. I'll say Mitchell Tabian's first post. I need to add a title, I need to add some content. Now the content needs to be at least 50 characters long, so I need to type something that's 50 characters long. This is Mitchell Tabian's first blog post. This is so exciting. Wow, capitals. I can't wait to see it on the server. Hopefully that's 50 characters. So there's some content. Now I'm gonna click touch to change the image. Hopefully I have an image on this emulator. I didn't think about that ahead of time. I'm not sure if I do. I do not. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to download an image from the internet so that I can actually select one for this demo. All right, so I paused the video, I fixed the bug, and now here we are back with the bug all fixed. So I'm going to click on here. And actually, just as a quick heads up, what the bug was some devices don't allow you to use the built-in generic intent-based system to crop the images. So it's better to use a third-party library. So I updated the app with a third-party library to crop the images. So that is what I did, just so you know. So let's click on this image. Let's choose one. I'm going to choose this one with the mountains here. And now you can see I can select anywhere. I can make any size, but on our server, there's restrictions on the image size. The height cannot be larger than the width. So it does something similar to what Instagram does. So at most, the image could probably look like a square, or it can be as long as you want, but it just can't be kind of skinny. So I'll choose a size that looks similar to about a YouTube thumbnail, something like that. I'll click on crop. There, that now gets set, and I'm going to publish this by clicking here and then clicking yes when it asks me, am I sure that I want to publish it? It says success, the blog post was created. That screen gets cleared, and now if I go back to the home screen and I was to refresh that, it will show my new blog post on the front page. So there's that new one. Again, this is a date ordering issue because on the server the blog posts get ordered in terms of date and time, but on the app it's only date. So that's why this is appended to the bottom of all the blog posts that were updated on the 19th. So just so you know that the dates are being sorted correctly, they're just not being sorted according to time. So now let's explore some of the other options that you have with blog posts regarding filtering and sorting and ordering and things like that. So if I click up here on the menu, you can see that currently the blog posts are sorted in descending order. So they get older and older as you go down. All the newest updated ones are showing at the top of the list. So if I click ascending, that's going to reverse that. You can see that now the The oldest one is at the top. You can see I can't scroll up anymore. And if I scroll down, they get newer and newer. So if I want to switch that back, I can just go to descending. And again, that order will switch, and you'll see that order that we saw earlier. The other option here is to sort by the author. So that'll sort either alphabetically or opposite. What would you call it? Non-alphabetically, opposite of alphabetically, whatever you would call that. So click here, you can click apply, and you can see that gets applied. So 2 was the author of this blog post. You can see here, Mitchell Tabian was that one. So it's going in opposite alphabetical order, with whatever you would call that. That's going to be descending. If you go into ascending, it's going to be the opposite of that. So then Mitch is going to be at the top of the list here. So that's the filtering and sorting that the features that the app will have. So there's also search functionality. So if I click up here, I can search any kind of keyword. So if I just look at one of these blog posts and look for something in particular that I want to see, let's go find one with something kind of unique. This one right here, so tongues out. So let's search for the keyword tongues. So tongue. If I search that, there you can see that blog post gets pulled up and it says no more results appended to the bottom. If I was to then clear that search, it then resets everything and I see the list as normal. So it queries all the blog posts. So pretty cool stuff, pretty common things that you'll see all the time. And of course there's pagination too. So if I scroll to the bottom, it loads the first 10 items. And then if I get to the bottom of that list, it loads the next 10 items. And then when it runs out of items, so there's nothing left on the server, it says no more results down at the bottom there. So very common functionality that you'll see in pretty much all your applications. So I wanted to definitely show you how to do that because typically this is how all recycler views are set up. At the end of the day, you have a list of items, you're querying them, you're searching them, you're filtering them. And when you get to the end of the list, it should say, no more entries. And of course, there's pagination. So you're not going to query all of those blog posts right away or all of the objects right away. You query it in sections. In this case, we're querying 10 at a time. Now let's look at what you need to do to update a blog post. So obviously, only the author of that particular blog post will be able to update it. So right now, I'm logged in with the mitchelltabian@gmail.com. So if I click on one of the blog posts that Mitch12 wrote, for example, notice I have no ability to edit this. I can't edit it and I can't delete it. I can just look at it. So now if I go down to one of the blog posts that I created, let's find one of those. I just posted one. It'll actually be at the bottom because I just made that. So Mitchell Tabian's first post, I will click on there. Notice now there's an update icon in the toolbar. That wasn't there when I wasn't the author of the post. And there's also a delete button down here. So let's see what happens when I click this edit button. I'm taken to another new screen that looks just kind of like the create screen. It's the same kind of thing. It's very similar, this fragment, but this is where I can make updates. So I could change the title by adding like an exclamation mark to it. I could add, just a couple periods here just so we can test that it's actually going to be updated, and we'll see an update on the server. So I'll leave the image as is, but you could also change the image, and I'll press the green check mark to submit that update. It says updated, the success message down there. Now if I was to go to the server and refresh that, you should see that this was updated. So there's our exclamation mark, and then there's that dot that we added to it. And like I said, we could change the picture. So maybe actually I will, just to show you. I'll select the same picture, but I'll crop a different area of it, or I'll change the shape of it. So I'll crop like this bottom kind of little corner here. I'm going to crop that. So there's that new image being set, and we will again submit that change by clicking the green check mark. It'll say updated. Now let's refresh this, and there you'll see that new image has been uploaded to the server and set to that blog post. So the last kind of feature that I wanted to show you is this delete button. I'm trying to think of whether I want to keep this on the server or not. I guess I could just delete it just to show you. So if I click delete, ask me if I'm sure this can't be undone. I click yes. That blog post is deleted, and you won't find it in this list anymore. So if I refresh this, no matter where I look, this blog post is no longer in here. And if I go to the server and I refresh this, that blog post has been removed. It's no longer on the server. So that is all the blog post functionality. There's creating, updating, viewing, querying, searching, filtering, all that kind of stuff. Now let's take a look at the account tab down here. All right, so what are we dealing with here? Well, number one, we can log out. So if we click that, obviously, like I said, the token for the authenticated user is removed from the database. That means they won't be re-authenticated when they open the app again. So that's the only way that they won't be automatically logged in from the previous session. You have to actually log out. So I'll log back in. I'll go back to account. And the only kind of options we have here are change the password. If I change the password, it's just enter your current password, your new password, then you click update. If you want to change your account properties, you click this little edit icon up here, and then I can change my account properties, either the username or the email. Pretty straightforward, nothing really fancy there. The last thing that I want to talk about is how the bottom navigation handles the navigation of the app. So I modeled this after Instagram. I really like the way that Instagram handles their navigation. And what I mean by that is if you're searching in Instagram, you go kind of like, say I'm on the home tab and I go kind of deep into Instagram, and you go deeper and deeper and deeper, click this profile, click that profile, click this profile, click that profile. You just get really, really deep basically. And then you decide to switch to another tab and you want to edit some account properties. But then you want to go back to the home tab. So what you expect when you go back to the home tab is you see the exact same fragment that was there when you left it. And that's what happens. So you notice when I go back to home, it doesn't bring me back to the feed. It brings me back to the fragment that I was last visiting. So how this works is each of these tabs at the bottom have their own individual backstack. So right now, if I was to click back, it would bring me back to the home section. Or sorry, I did the opposite of what I just said. So when I'm on one of these tabs, when I press the back button, what it will do is it will navigate the backstack of that particular section on the bottom navigation. So now if I go over here, notice I'm still taken to the view blog fragment. If I press back, I'm then navigated back on this bottom navigation selection's individual backstack. So the takeaway here is that each of these has their own individual backstack. So if I was to click on one of these blog posts, go back to account, notice I'm still on the edit screen. If I click back, I'm taken back to the account screen. So when you click the back button or you press back on one of these back arrows like this one right here, it navigates backwards on that particular selection's individual backstack. So it's a pretty cool way to navigate an app, and I think it's very intuitive. I think Instagram definitely got that right when it comes to navigation. All right, so that was pretty much the complete course demo. I think I covered everything. Now let's go to the course page and let's take a look at the things that are going to be covered in the course. So the concepts that we're going to be looking at in the course. So so here's the course page. You'll be familiar with this because obviously you registered at it. Now let's take a look at the prerequisites. So the prerequisites required for this course are Dagger 2, MVI architecture, and it would be nice if you knew something about database caching. We're going to be covering all that stuff in the course, but the database caching you could probably get away with not knowing how to do, but it's definitely going to be handy. At least you should know how to use retrofit and room. That's a requirement for sure. And Dagger 2, you are going to struggle. I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't know Dagger, if you haven't taken my Dagger course, you are definitely going to struggle. And if you are a new member, you've never subscribed to my website before, I have a free Dagger course. It's really good. Dagger 2.2 on Android. I highly suggest checking that out. It's with Java, but it's the same thing pretty much. If you watch that in Java and then you come and watch this course, you'll have no issues. So Dagger 2, that's definitely the number one thing I recommend. Then MVI architecture. So MVI architecture is a fairly new architecture, a fairly new thing. It's kind of like the natural evolution of MVVM. That's how I like to think of it, because it's MVVM, but it's got some added things to it. So I have an MVI architecture course again. So if you go to my website, Model View Intent Architecture Introduction, watch that. That again, if you don't know MVI, you can get by in this course, but you'll struggle. You'll have some difficulties. And it's a short course. It's only like 15 lectures long if you watch the introduction. So, I definitely recommend watching that. And last but not least, like I said, the database caching course. Again, I have a course on database caching. It's called Local Database Cache with a REST API. That shows you how to get network data, how to update a cache when you're getting that network data, and how to show that network data while you're refreshing the cache. Basically, it's like the best practices involved in database caching. When you're getting stuff from the network, but you want your app to still work the same pretty much if there's no internet connection. So I definitely recommend those three. Now let's take a look at what we are going to learn in this course. There's a ton of stuff. I don't know if I'm going to sit here and talk about each one of these. Yeah, actually, I don't want to talk about these. If you want to take a look at what you're going to learn, just take a look at this. Tons of things, tons of stuff that a lot of you have been asking about for a long time. Really think you're going to find a lot of value in this course. So that is going to be it. That's going to be it for the introduction, the demo. You know a little bit about the course, what you're going to be learning, what to expect, what you need to know before going in. So now we are ready. Let's get started and start building the app.